Welcome to the FML podcast, the podcast on a mission to uncover actionable insights, explore the latest trends, and to catalyze your fintech's growth. Join Growth Gorilla's founder and managing director, Shamir Sajdev, and some of fintech's hardest-hitting marketers and leaders.
Welcome everyone to today's episode of the FML podcast. Today we're joined by Ishita Sinha, Senior Growth Marketing Manager at Upgrade Inc., based out in the US. Ishita, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes, it's my pleasure, and I'm happy to be here.
For everyone listening today, could you share a bit about yourself and your journey so far?
I started at Upgrade about 2 years back. I have been in the growth marketing space for about 10 years now. Well, it wasn't called growth marketing at that time. There have been different names. There was digital marketing, user acquisition marketing, marketing in general. But I have been in this user acquisition growth marketing sort of space in 10 years for now. Worked in APAC, which is Asia Pacific, and the US. Prior to Upgrade, I worked at Coursera. I don't know if you've heard about Coursera. Coursera is an online learning platform where you can learn courses, professional certificates, degrees even, and specializations. So I was in charge of the growth marketing team in there, where I did a lot of paid search, PPC marketing, social media, display advertising. I didn't do quite of affiliate or partnership. We had another person handle that. But so that's kind of where I grew my US experience, understood the customer, and then I moved on from EdTech to FinTech to Upgrade, which was in a similar phase when I joined. It was growing rapidly from not just one type of product to different products, different types of customers, different types of audiences, exploring what kind of products can we build for the various kind of needs of our customers. It was a small team when I joined. It was just me and my manager who was doing this growth marketing stuff, but we have grown in our team because the needs are higher. I have grown as an individual within the company as well. So yeah, that's been my journey so far.
Tell us a little bit more about Upgrading and your role, I suppose, as growth marketing manager. But I think first and foremost, let's kick off with, who is Upgrading and what do they do?
So Upgrade Inc. is a fintech company based in the US that offers the full range of credit and banking services to our mainstream customers. When Upgrade was being built, the vision was to fundamentally improve our customers' lives in the long term, which is why the name Upgrade. And literally, it kind of means that we are upgrading their credit profiles, their credits, their finances, and we have many products that kind of speak to what we are truly building around our customers' needs and what was missing in the market. My role here is to make sure that we are reaching out to the prospective customers about the great products that we have today via paid media marketing, which includes paid search, paid social, display advertising, and very recently app and video advertising as well.
From what I understand is that you do have a certain degree of input into new product development as well.
Yep.
I mean, tell us a little bit more about that. I suppose, how does what you're doing, I suppose, on the front line with I suppose, the performance marketing piece, how does that lead into new product development?
Time and again, we have kind of innovated, tried to find out what's missing in the market today, what are the needs of our customers, and tried to merge the two to be able to gain just not a product market fit, but also a product consumer fit, sort of. So let me share an example of the Upgrade One card. It is a card that offers the benefits, the best of debit and credit cards in one. Practically speaking, what that means is that you can set up the card to either pay now in the Upgrade app for your everyday purchases like your groceries, your regular bills, etc., that you would typically use a debit card for, and then it'll debit your bank account the next day. But then if there is a larger purchase, say you're buying a TV or you're buying something which is larger than just your daily purchases, you would potentially be stretching your budget and you would need to pay that over time or even pay later. So you just toggle the feature of pay later in the app and pay it over several months or years, depending on what you choose. but you can still opt to pay now and then get the full credit card rewards. Like that's not available in the market today. Like if you're doing a debit card purchase, you do not get the full credit card rewards, but you can do that through Upgrade One card, even when you're making a debit card purchase. So this kind of seemed like a very obvious product in our mind, but that was missing in the US market. I'm not very sure if something like this exists in the UK market or anywhere in the European markets, but this was missing from the American market. And we thought that this is something that customers could very well take advantage of. And maybe it just helps them in terms of cashback rewards and whatnot. So, yeah.
I think the closest thing we've got to that over here in the UK is there's a fintech called Curve, but rather than it being, say, from the provider end, it's a standalone product that you can then attach your debit card, credit card into,
Mm,
then you manually
gotcha.
have to then toggle
Yeah.
which one you want to use. I quite like it. It's really, really helpful because I've only got one card in my pocket.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. And that's why the
but
name,
I,
like Upgrade One card. We couldn't think of a
but
simpler name. Sorry.
yeah, no, exactly. But the only downside is that you're then using multiple providers, right? So
Yeah.
you still got the back end card issuers are still different. You still got your one with HSBC, one with
Mhm.
Starling Bank, or whatever it may be. So naturally, fintech is a rapidly evolving sector, but then so is marketing as a whole as well. How do you approach keeping up with, I suppose, industry trends from both a marketing perspective and a fintech perspective? And then how does that influence your strategies for user acquisition, your growth marketing?
I'll give you a very quick example here. In terms of industry, in the last 1 year or so, we were seeing a lot of focus, be it whatever macroeconomic conditions within the country, we were seeing a lot of focus on high yield savings accounts, which erstwhile it existed, but your high yield savings account yielded you like 0.5% APY or so. Towards the end of 2022, there was a lot of opportunity when we could extend the benefits of a larger APY high yield savings accounts to our customers. And we were one of the first few banks slash fintechs. Like I'm speaking to the whole of the finance industry here, not just banks or not just fintechs. So we were one of the very first players in the market who came up with a high yield savings account, which had 12 to 13x of the national average APY. So we are constantly like evolving and trying to think what are the needs of our customers at this time, what can we offer to the customers based on the macroeconomic environment, based on the industry at this moment, and we extend all of those benefits to our customers. So these high yield savings accounts, it did benefit because our APY was somewhere hovering between the 4% and the 5%. So that was kind of at times, depending on what the national average was, we also went up to like 13% or 14%. So that's huge in my mind as a customer myself or as a consumer myself, if I were one. So bearing the best interests of our customers in mind, we constantly evolve in our products, constantly try to come up with features and products that benefit the industry. And the next step is to effectively communicate the product's value proposition. There's absolutely no sense to have a great product and not be able to communicate that to your customers. So we use a combination of growth marketing, performance marketing, life cycle marketing to even market to our existing customers because a lot of them could benefit from it as well.
Drilling down on those sorts of individual channels, what industry trends have you seen from a marketing perspective sort of emerge over the last sort of 12, 18 months? And then how have you adapted to that?
Traditionally at Upgrade, we have done affiliate and partnership marketing. Affiliate marketing is anything where somebody else writes about us, talks about our products, or we list ourselves on rate tables and card aggregator websites. So that's kind of what I'm referring to as affiliate marketing. And we've done paid search, which is PPC, click based SEM, search engine marketing, very heavily. So that's been kind of our main growth partnership marketing channels. But in the last 12, 18 months, we've kind of tried to diversify to other marketing channels, other performance marketing channels, case in point, Meta or Facebook marketing, which a lot of companies traditionally do. We were kind of waiting for the right moment for us to be able to understand the customer better, be able to understand the channel dynamics for our products better before we started doing that. But even more, I would say Gen Z specific channels like TikTok advertising. We have tried out influencer marketing, we have tried out video advertising, we have tried out app advertising, and we are constantly looking for like new opportunities for growth in terms of channels. So TikTok is something that not a lot of people on our team have accounts on. We do not have TikTok accounts, but we were very open to exploring that given the fact that maybe our customers might be looking at TikTok or Instagram at influencers to be able to, make their decisions about finances and personal finance, what kind of products they need to look at, what kind of technology is available in the market today. Plus, we also invest heavily in marketing automation tools and software to streamline our efforts and then look at the data which is driving these efforts and then be able to scale more effectively and repeatably.
I'm curious to dive in a little bit into TikTok
Hmm.
because we hosted a round table a little while back, and we had quite a few sort of well-known brands, fintech brands from the UK attend, and the general feeling was that they were slowing down spend on Meta and increasing spend on TikTok. Is that something that you've found on your side?
We haven't been particularly slowing down spend on Meta because we feel that the audiences that exist on each of these channels have been very niche and very different from one another. Like Facebook in its early years was probably a channel which did not have a ton of adoption in terms of advertising and stuff, but I think a lot more people are more comfortable with Meta right now, with Facebook right now, that you find a different kind of profile on Facebook and with Facebook advertising. But with TikTok, I believe that the profile of customers that are present on TikTok or the profile of users that are present on TikTok that we are reaching out to is certainly different from what we've seen on Meta. But having said that, we have been rapidly ramping up our TikTok presence, our Instagram advertising presence, just to be able to reach out to these users or these kind of profiles and be more present where our audiences are, just to be able to be visible in wherever our audiences are lying, or at least we think are lying.
How have you approached influencer marketing? Was that successful for you? Is that another area that you'll perhaps scale up?
We did a pilot in Q3 and Q4 of last year, so the second half of the year. It hasn't been super successful in our mind. We wouldn't call this as a successful pilot or a successful test, but we also do understand that we do have some more kind of zoning in onto TikTok advertising and trying to find out the right kind of influencers that work for our profile or work for our product profile. So this is something that even we are trying to develop within ourselves. Like we are very used to having Meta or Google serve up audiences to us instead of us going to have find out audiences. With influencer marketing, it's very different because you have to understand what the audience demographics of your influencers are. So you have to go down another step and actually kind of understand what audiences are they targeting, what kind of content they're making. Because as a brand, oftentimes we can be very restrictive, but I've found that in influencer marketing, the way an influencer creates their content, I think a lot of freedom needs to also be given to the influencer to be able to create a content which is very organic to the kind of content that they have been creating so far and not go in like a studio created video and ask them to just talk about a product or something like that. So these are various aspects that we are still discovering. We haven't kind of gotten a secret mantra for success or something, but we are getting there. We are trying to scale the channel because we think there is a lot of potential, but it wouldn't be fair for me to say that it's a successful channel right off the bat or something.
how have you tackled the compliance element of the influencer piece? Because I know that's always a sticking point in with fintech and financial services.
That's a very important aspect because it's user generated content, in this case, influencer generated content. So, one of the checkpoints that we have had is once they've created the content, they send it over to us for our compliance and legal teams to take a look, and then, and also our partner banks to take a look and be able to sign off of that, just not the content, like just not the video, but also the captions, the hashtags, all of that. Be very cognizant of the fact that the influencer has actually used our product, because it's not something like an e-commerce thing. It's not something like you're buying off of a website, and it's not a fashion product, or it's not a food item or things like that, which you can just buy and consume and use. It's more like a lot of influencers also have backed out because they are like, I already have three checking accounts. I don't want to be opening up another fourth checking account. So sorry, I can't work with you at this time, and things like that. So there are a lot of, so these are regulations that are countrywide, and I'm guessing a lot of countries have their own rules about this, that the influencer that is talking about your product must be a consumer of your product, which makes total sense to me. Like, if I haven't used something, how can I even talk about it? So we have been very careful to kind of vet the content that the influencer is creating, and then approving it, and only then it goes out in the market. So yeah.
The fintech and financial services space has been slower to adopt influencer marketing as a whole, and I think a lot of that is down to probably the two things that you mentioned. One is obviously compliance, and then the other element is around the fact that it's not selling a tangible product. I still think we're a few years behind, where fashion or consumer goods and
Goods,
items are,
yes, yes, yeah.
which is interesting because I think it presents a big opportunity for the brands that do get in early. We had another roundtable. This was last year, and we had a lot of like the social media managers and heads of social there. We asked them the question, if we could support you, or what, we could do another roundtable. What would you like it to be? And they were like, could you get some compliance people in and get them to speak to our compliance people? And we're like, wow, okay, didn't expect that. So that was really really interesting. But it also brings about the question around creativity as well.
Hmm.
And you mentioned obviously you kind of ventured into Meta. From what it sounds like, you kind of nailed the affiliate partnership stuff. You then moved on paid search. You really really focused on, it's what I call like the marketing onion, which is based right in the
Yeah.
center. You've got high intent, and then you kind of work your way out. You're now venturing on obviously onto Meta and other channels where the intent is lower, but obviously where the intent is lower, the importance of messaging becomes
Very.
much higher. Talk to me about your approach to, I suppose messaging and creativity on platforms like Meta or on TikTok, how you've approached that, and how you're optimizing that activity as well.
So for that, I would be very thankful to the creative department, or the creative team, the awesome design team that we have had here. I've worked with many brilliant design teams, and one of the things that I have found is crucial for creative development is kind of the partnership between the marketing team and the creative team. A lot of times you're just given assets, like be it an image or a video asset or even a copy, you're just given assets, and you're supposed to go out there in the market and advertise for them, especially true for Meta, or even for app campaigns on Google, or even the other formats of Google advertising. But I'm really happy that we work in a very collaborative approach, which means that if we are starting off a new product, we create a host of copy and a host of creatives, be it video or images, and then we continuously test them, like what's working for a particular type of audience, what's working for a particular type of product, and then we reiterate on that. So I can give you a very concrete example. Like when we had started app advertising on Google App Campaigns, which was erstwhile called UAC. So when we started that, we had images which had a lot of text. And I think the same rule applies for Meta as well. Like Meta recommends that you have less than 20%, less than 30% of your image to be a text and stuff like that. So we were kind of iterating on what we want on app advertising as well. So once we did that, we didn't see a lot of success. And the Google team also helped us identify some of the reasons why or this might not have worked. And then we started using a lot more lifestyle images, people using our app. And of course, because it's an app, show a screenshot of the app so that, the audiences are actually looking at what it is like to use, or even identifying with the person that they are seeing on screen or on their app store or anywhere else on any of the other properties, that this is somebody like me who's using a great app. So that's app advertising. In terms of Meta, when you're doing website advertising, you have to be very careful about the kind of sizes that you're talking about, carousels being very consistent in their approach or in their messaging and things like that. You can't just like talk about disconnected stuff in a carousel and get away with it. Nobody cares about that. So being able to spin a story out of your creatives and out of your assets is very important. Having said that, we also kind of go back, look at the campaign performance, look at the effectiveness of our campaigns, the efficiencies of our campaigns based on the creatives, and then we analyze those metrics, identify if any trends are available or if any trends are present, and then make those data backed decisions to be able to optimize furthermore in the process.
Out of curiosity, has there been any creative or any creatives that you've put live in the performance has surprised you?
Yes, there has been a case where it has surprised me. So this was crazy. We had a promotion running for one of our products where you would get a bonus if you set up direct deposit. And we were just testing this out. We were doing an A/B test. In our wildest dreams, did we not think that the trial version or the base version, which had the control version or the base version, which had no bonus in it, would actually be winning. So we went back to the drawing board and we were like, what is it that this is causing? Because you would realize or you would think off the bat that if you're providing a $200 bonus for somebody to open a checking account, that would probably make much more sense. But we did see that maybe it was the creative, which was more bulky when we spoke about the offer so much that people just lost interest within those 2 or 3 seconds that they are kind of stopping by an ad. So we went back to the drawing board, redid the creative, redid the images, and that's when we started seeing, yes, the bonus version or the test version was winning. But yeah, that kind of surprised me. Like that's a lot that creative can do for you or not do for you.
We've had that as well, right? We're running campaigns. More than once, I can say that the uglier banner or ad or whatever has just massively outperformed.
Yeah.
In fact, we had one client that was, they described one of the ad images as being really, really cheesy and a bit spammy. And, we put it live and I know they absolutely detested it. And ironically, in the end, it performed the best.
It happens so many times. It's crazy how that happens. Like even at my previous company, there was, and this is beyond fintech. This was EdTech. There was this one image which had the worst of colors. Like when you look at it, you're like, this is the ultimate spammy content that somebody could browse. What would just happen if you throw this in? It actually won, and I have no idea how that happens. Honestly, who clicks on it? Who converts on such images or such content? I absolutely, it's bonkers. Yeah.
I think sometimes as marketers, we're sometimes a bad barometer because I think just naturally as marketers, you look at every, I don't know about you, but every radio ad, every billboard, every banner I see, every PPC ad I see, I'm almost immediately critical of it. Well, not necessarily critical, but I give it critique. I think mere mortals, non-marketers, don't look at it in the same way. For them, it's just an image with some copy on it,
Right.
and if it catches their eye, it works. I think what you've said a couple of things that were interesting there, and there's things that you kind of mentioned and some terminology there. So you talked about having a piece of creative that was your control. You've talked a little bit about obviously measuring performance there, and I kind of dig into that a little bit more. So just around, I suppose, and I try to sort of really really encourage brands to focus on having real structure around their testing. What would be great is what is that approach? You talk about having a control, and how does that process work for you? How do you manage that process?
Yep. So anytime we are running a test, it could be an A/B test or even a pre-post test. Well, the pre-post doesn't quite have a control and a test version, but anytime we're running an A/B test, we are always trying to iterate based off of something like, can this work better than this? Like we have a baseline campaign or a baseline creative or a baseline copy, and we are constantly trying to improve on that and say that, hey, can this copy work better than the existing copy? So you always have like a baseline that you're working off of. So we take that as our control if that has run for a significant amount of time. Once that has run for a significant amount of time, with that as the baseline, if you're writing a separate copy, then you're starting to test on that and see if your performance metrics, say even your click-through rate, because it's a copy, or the kind of conversions that are happening. But I also think that the conversion that's happening on your website is less a function of your copy and more a function of how your website is structured, how your flow of the website is structured, and things like that. So as a marketer, I oftentimes look at the click-through rates. A click-through rate basically defines the number of clicks that are happening for the number of times the ad has been shown, and then run these tests for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and see if the test version is outperforming the control version. If it is, then we incorporate the test version in the original campaign, and then again start the process of reiteration after this test, which now became the campaign, has run for a significant amount of time and has gathered data for the algorithm to learn that this is kind of my baseline version now, or this is kind of what's running in the campaign now, and this is how audiences are reacting to it. And we have gathered some data around it. That's when the process restarts, and we are again starting to think that, hey, but what about this? Or even sometimes, there are product features that are added, given that we are a startup and we're constantly working on improving our products. So even when a product feature is added, we are again starting to replace one of the descriptions, because you can only do so much with an SEM ad or a meta ad. You just have character limitations, you have number of headline, number of description limitations and stuff. So should we replace one with the other? So again, try out 2 or 3 versions there.
Something that you mentioned obviously is you're collecting data, you're seeing the results. It's very very apparent that your tracking, your data, and your analytics setup is robust, right? And that's something that I think not just fintechs, but I think just brands in general really really undervalue. And sometimes I'm still sort of shocked to see it, that we'll speak to very well established brands and they don't have any sort of proper tracking infrastructure in place, and you can't scale without the data.
Absolutely.
Fundamentally speaking. So
The FML podcast is brought to you by Growth Gorilla. To find out how our marketing growth experts can boost your fintech's growth, head to growthgorilla.co.uk and make sure to search for the FML podcast in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Don't forget to click follow to ensure you don't miss any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Growth Gorilla, thanks for listening.